What's going on YouTube? John with Refinery Fragrances back for another video. Today we are going to be taking a look at Costa Azzurra by Tom Ford. Now we're not only going to be looking at this version, which was released in 2021, but we're going to see how it compares to the original private blend version as well. Before I get started, if this is your first time at this channel and you're interested in fragrance related content like this, please do consider hitting subscribe and also hitting that bell icon for notifications for any future uploads. Okay, so this iteration of Costa Azzurra, like I said, was released just this year in 2021. This is an aromatic aquatic fragrance. And the notes of this are, in the top, there's driftwood, there is oud, seaweed, cardamom, ambrette, and celery seeds. In the mid, there is lemon, cypress, lavender, yellow mandarin, myrtle, artemisia, and in the base, there is oak, incense, olibanum, vetiver, vanilla, and mastic. All right, so for seasons and occasions for Costa Azzurra, this is a very aquatic fragrance. It's very salty. It's got a lot of fresh nuances in it. So for me and my uses, for the way my collection's set up, I'm going to utilize this mostly in the spring and the summer. It does have that, salty sea air freshness that I look for in the warmer months, but it still has, as I said in the note list, it's got incense and oud and vanilla, and those notes are not overly prominent, but I think that they give this enough of an oomph, enough of a depth to actually work in some of the cooler days. So I actually think this would be a great option for a signature scent that you could wear all year round. But for me, and maybe some collectors out there, you might reserve this for spring and summer. I think you're right to do so. For occasions, this kind of runs the gamut. I think you could get away with this wearing, shorts and a t-shirt, but it also has a maturity to it that I think lends itself to formal occasions. I definitely think you could wear this while wearing a suit, maybe going to a wedding during the summertime. And I think that this would fit very well in a formal occasion. Office wear, I think this would be really great. I wouldn't go too heavy on the trigger, but office wear, I could totally see it working for casual, formal office wear, a date night. My wife loves this fragrance. I'm gonna get to that in a second. But yeah, I think that this is a very versatile fragrance. Let's talk about performance for a minute. So I get a great performance with Costa Azzurra. So I would say it projects very well for the first 2 to 3 hours, beyond an arm's length, in my experience. And then it lasts on the skin, I would say between 7 and 8 hours. I think that the heavier notes in the base lend itself to that, wearing time, about 7 to 8 hours. Beyond that, it's a skin scent. It's barely detectable after the 8-hour mark, but I can't ask for much more than that, honestly, with an aquatic fragrance. I think that in the 7 or 8 hour mark is great in terms of performance, and projection is phenomenal. Let me just talk about compliments for a second. I just got to get it out in the open. Compliments on this are crazy. They're crazy. Like, my wife has not reacted to a fragrance like this since Aventus. Let me say that again. My wife has not reacted to a fragrance like this since Creed Aventus in 2012 or 13 or whenever I first wore it around her. She just cannot get enough of this. She loves fragrances that have that, salty, aquatic freshness, and man, this just ticks all the boxes for her. She's described it as masculine and sexy and salty, and it just has this seductive quality about it. And I would say the same, she loves it. I would say the same for when I wear it out, when I wear it around people. People really seem to love it. People really seem to compliment me on things. And I'll be honest, I don't get a tremendous amount of compliments. It's only a few fragrances that really, really pull compliments for me. And this is definitely one of them. Okay, with that being said, let's talk about price points. So this is on the more expensive side for a designer fragrance. Now, Tom Ford is pretty well known in the fragrance community for their private blend fragrances, which at this point, I believe most of them start at $250 for a 50 ml. Like I said, Costa Azzurra is, I have a little 10 ml travel size here of the original. And so this would have been $250 for a 50 ml. They moved it over to the signature collection, and now it's $184 for a 100 ml bottle. So you do get more juice for less money. And I think that is amazing. And with the compliment factor in mind, with the size in mind, I think the packaging is pretty nice and classy. Although I will say, I don't think that this packaging actually serves this fragrance. I do think it does have like a very blue, aquatic, oceanic type of a vibe. So I don't know if necessarily this bottle fits the air of the fragrance, but I think the packaging is nice. And I think the fact that my wife loves this so much, for me, it's worth that $184 price tag that this comes with. Unfortunately, I don't think you can find Tom Ford's discounted many places. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you can find this new formulation on any gray market websites, on anything like Fragrance Net just yet. I think Tom Ford does a very good job of keeping their fragrances off the gray market. So unfortunately, you're gonna wind up paying that retail price if you're wanting to give it a shot. But I think with longevity and the compliment factor in mind, for me, I'll pay that all day. So yeah, I've lived with this fragrance for about 2 months now. And we're just entering the season where I can start wearing it. The warmer weather is approaching. So I think this being suited for spring and summer, really excited to give it a lot of wearing as the season goes on. But in my limited, I've probably worn it about 10 times ahead of this review just to kind of wrap my head around it. I'm really loving this fragrance. Costa Azzurra to me was not something that I gravitated towards. It wasn't doing it for me, especially at that $250 price tag. I think there were other things out there that were actually less money that I enjoyed more. But I've kind of shifted on this fragrance. I've given it more wearing and spent more time with it. And I've really grown to love this fragrance. I think it's got a lot of phenomenal attributes about it. I think for somebody like me who loves kind of more Middle Eastern leaning fragrances with oud and maybe more animalic type fragrances, I just love rose, oud, tonka bean, and boozy fragrances, just really dense things. And I often miss that when the summer months roll around. So with this fragrance, you actually still get some of those darker, deeper facets while still wearing a fragrance that's very appropriate for summer, something that you're not going to get sick when you wear it, or it's not going to be cloying, or it's not going to really bother anybody around you. I don't see this is not a very disagreeable fragrance. It's very mass appealing, it's very likable, while still retaining an artistic quality for niche fragrance lovers like myself. I really find myself enjoying this quite a bit. So I want to talk about the differences between the two of these fragrances. So this is the private blend Costa Azzurra, and this is the new signature line Costa Azzurra. The differences are minute, but the differences are there. So I can tell after wearing both of these quite a bit, wearing this a little bit more than this version. This smells a bit higher quality. It does. And I try not to reference price point in my head when I'm thinking about these things, because I just want to take it for what it is, like smelling the scents, A-Bing them and smelling the differences. I do find that this is a bit smoother. I do find that this is a bit higher quality to me. But with this being discontinued, if you're a fan of this fragrance, I wouldn't be overly disappointed, to be honest. Like, I do think that they capture the essence of this very well, and they're very close. And honestly, if you're smelling it off your skin, I don't know if you'll notice a a huge difference between the two. I just am looking at it from a very critical point of view. But when you spray this on, I feel like there is almost like a mandarin note in here that adds a bit of a smoothness up top, whereas this is a bit woodier. So this could lean a bit more aquatic, a bit more citrus heavy, and this leans more in the woody direction, which could be why they put it in this packaging. And I'm not really mad about that. Like, I think that, if they amped up the woods, which I believe they did here, then this packaging, I guess, serves its point. But that's really all I have to say about the differences between the two. This is a bit more citrus aquatic. Still has a lot of depth, absolutely. Maybe a bit more depth in the dry down on this one. But this, it amps up the woody quality. And it just kind of hints at some of the denser fragrances that I really enjoy in my collection. It doesn't smell like anything in particular necessarily. It's just that it has those kind of stronger, woodier qualities that I really love. And for that, with all of that in mind, I'm really happy with this fragrance. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend you get out and try it for the upcoming spring and summer months. It does very, very well in the warmer weather from what I'm testing so far, and I cannot wait to wear it more. Who knows, you might see this on a top 5 list. We'll see. That's all for me, guys, on Costa Azzurra by Tom Ford. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Let me know, have you tried the new formulation of Costa Azzurra or even the old one? Let me know what you think about both of them and the comparison between the two. I'm so curious. Let's get a conversation started down in the comments, and I will see you guys soon.